this Ask Ingrid session like all week. I'm like, come on, everybody, send some questions. I want to answer some questions. So thank you for everyone who submitted questions this week. I am excited. This is my realm of questioning. The questions that came in this week about work and pay. And probably because I have like 8 years experience in the HR realm. So I like to tell all the secrets to my peeps that aren't in that realm of just how you position yourself to kind of expand your career a little bit. I especially like to tell all of my single parents how to do it. Because we are responsible for earning for two people, right? And there's only but so many ways that you could do that. So tonight, the questions kind of form around one who is like work-life balance, taking time for yourself, and how you expand your career. So if you're just joining me, if this is your first live, thank you. I see we have some new followers here on the page. Thank you for joining. Miss Lady Cat 12 and Queen Quartz, thank you for joining. My name is Ingrid and Williams of the Single Parents Guide. I am a single mom for the last 12 years. I guess 12 years in April, because my little one will be 12 in April. She's not so little, she's almost taller than me. But it's been an interesting journey, and I've survived for 12 years. And my mission in life is to kind of build a community for other single parents to let you know that you can survive too. I recently published a book about the emotions that are involved in it, because I feel like single parents are sometimes the invisible population. Everybody sees us, but nobody sees us. They see us as coworkers, they see us as family members, but it's really hard because they don't see a lot of the struggle. And I had some real struggle years. I'm glad to know that I'm kind of like on the other side just a little bit, but I never forget that, you know, you're always one decision away from the struggle again. And I try to encourage all the single parents that I come across, if they're in the middle of their struggle, to kind of don't give up. There is life on the other side. And so now I will start with questions. So first question came from Michelle. She wanted to know how you balance being a mom, your personal life, and your work life. And I think originally when I get asked this question a lot, like, Ingrid, how do you do it? Especially working in HR, my job is very demanding. Hi, hello, thick and lovely goddess 8387. Thank you for joining. So a lot of people ask me, like, how do you do it? Your job is really demanding. You're out here writing books. You're trying to raise a kid. Like, how do you find the time? And I used to tell people there is no balance. Like, that's a fictional thing. And in some aspects, it really definitely still is. But I think this last year, 2017, kind of gave me a different perspective of how you can fake balance. And when I say fake balance, is like give yourself an illusion of having balance. And that's by kind of like blocking out the things that you want to do. So when you're at work, you're at work. When you're home, you're home. When you're with your man, if you're dating, then that you're there. And when you are with your friends, you're there. And when you are taking time for you, you're just doing that. Because if you try to merge them all together, sometimes you kind of feel like nothing is done. For me, I used to work at home a lot. I used to go to work, build in a department. I used to go to work and come home and work some more. So I always felt like I was never done. Like, I'm never done with work. And there are still times that I have to work from home or work at home if I need to get a project done. But I try to come home, deal with home first, and then go to work later, maybe on my own time, not so much my daughter's time, but definitely blocking out the time for what's important at that moment is the most important. So my advice, if you're trying to balance being a mom, being a woman, being like expanding your career or just having one, is be present in whatever situation you're in at that moment in time. So when you're at work, you're putting in 110%. I know sometimes we get caught up like in phones and responding to, text messages and all those things there, but a little less of that and a little more knocking out the projects so that you feel like you've completed something in the day. And when you come home, you're just done. Like, I'm not taking any phone calls, not sending any emails. You're just done. If you're in school, it's a little different because now you have to study. And I know there's a lot of great single moms out there that are going to work, going to school, raising kids. It's just what it is. Again, carve out your study time, and when you're doing study time, that's it. And sometimes it's waking up earlier to do it. I know it sounds like a struggle. Like, what do you mean? I don't get enough sleep as it is. How are you going to tell me to wake up an hour earlier than already no sleep? But it's really worth it, especially if it's a short time and there's a goal at the end of it. Sometimes we just have to make those sacrifices. So if you have to wake up at 5 a.m. to study, to get that study time in before the day takes over, then that's kind of what you need to do. If you have to study a little later, then that's just what you need to do at that point, so you can make sure that your studies get that solid time. If you're working on building a business, I've done that too, then it's early rising and late nights. It is just what it is, but it needs your focus, and you need to be able to build those things in during the day. Even your lunch, maybe bring your lunch, go in the car, read flashcards, make some phone calls, whatever that is. You need to optimize the time that you have. And I think sometimes you need to set boundaries in your life with everyone, your family, your friends. You can't go everywhere. You can't do everything if you're trying to move your life forward and if you're looking for some balance. So that is my advice to Michelle on how to balance mom life, personal life, and work life. You have to block out the time. So try it this week. Try to block out some time. It's Sunday and still a little early. Try to make a little schedule for the week, or even if it's just one day for tomorrow, block that time out. Send me a DM message. Tell me how it worked out for you this week. I like the feedback to know if, what I have experienced is helpful to others. That helps me stay on top of giving you guys some learning tips that I just kind of use along the way. Let's see. Another thing that I think would help with work-life balance is taking some time for you. And that kind of ties into our second question, which Charles sent in, about is it selfish to take time for yourself? So I'll kind of loop those two in together. My answer is no. It is never a selfish thing to take time for yourself, because we are responsible for raising little humans, and they're takers, unfortunately, by nature. They're dependent on us for everything, for meals, clothes, nurture. We have to sustain their life, and we're unable to sustain their life if we don't have anything to give to them. So I'm a fan. I am an advocate for taking some me time. I think that sometimes as parents, especially single parents, we're a little hesitant to do that because it's only us. But again, I say, if you have to get up early, do it. Sometimes I get up early before everybody else, and the house is real quiet. It's still dark outside. It's just me and the birds, and I'm like with my coffee or tea, with a journal or a good book, or just nothing, and kind of just thinking my own thoughts, relaxing a little bit, preparing for the day, praying, like whatever it is. Sure, you can put your questions in the comments, and I'll definitely, if you feel comfortable, and I'll answer it as we go along. Doesn't matter if it's not work related. I will answer any question that you throw up here in the box. So bring them on. If you have questions as I'm talking, just throw them in the comments, and I'll answer as I go. But yeah, so no, I don't think it's selfish. I don't think it's selfish for a number of reasons. One, like raising kids is a forever work, but there's only a short amount of time that they're going to be like super dependent on you for everything. Like they grow up and they become adults, and then they have their own adult problems, right? Which are a little bit different than, who has to get to school that day and all that. But one day you're going to have like all this extra time when you're not really raising kids on a daily basis, and you're not going to know yourself because you've kind of put everything into your children for the last 18 years, and now you don't know who you are. So never lose sight of you. Two, it's an important a reason to take some me time is because the kids need who you are. I'm a strong believer that you are the parents to your children for a reason, that there is something inside of you that you have to impart in them so that they can be successful in whatever journey that they have to take for themselves. And part of that is knowing who you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you have to give and to impart to them. And you can't do that if you're like super broken or you don't know who you are. And part of like really touching base with that is sitting alone, figuring out who am I, what do I do, what do I like to do, what are my gifts, what do I like, what don't I like, and being able to communicate that to others around you. And the third reason I don't think it's selfish to take time for yourself is because the children need to see you as your best self. And that comes with some alone time. Like, your best self is what the kids need to see every single day. They need to see you working towards a goal, because it allows them to know that they can accomplish anything that they want. So you have to be able to take some time to refresh, to replenish. Everybody needs rest. Even God rested, right? Like, Jesus rested at some point in time after his work. So there is never room to run yourself down, because you can't take care of anybody else if you're running on empty. So my advice to work-life balance and taking time for yourself, is it selfish? It's no. And in order to achieve the illusion of work-life balance, is take some time for yourself. I think that is the best thing you can possibly do as a single parent. Sometimes I save up every quarter and like book myself a hotel room and book a babysitter and just go there for the whole weekend with like a do not disturb sign on, and I'll sleep, I'll eat, whatever it is that I need to do, just to have like some time for me to think my thoughts and regain some energy, all the energy that I just gave out for the last 3 months. It's really important. If you can't do that, like I said, maybe book a babysitter and stay home, run a bath, whatever it is that you need to do to gain your sanity. If you have something that arts and crafts, like the adult coloring book, or if you like cooking, schedule some time to do those things. But you definitely want to take the time to not lose who you are, because the children need it and they need you to be strong at every step of the way. And I know sometimes, depending on what you're going through, depending on what stage of single parenting you're in, if you're just transitioning, it's a little hard, but try to incorporate that as quickly as you possibly can. So the next question was from Stacy, and she asked, what are some benefits of single parenting? And I like that question. It was kind of a challenge, because I think the world likes to think that there's like being a single parent is one of the worst things you can possibly do. So it really challenged me to think about what I feel are some of the better or best parts of single parenting. And I'll run them off here for you. So I think that one of the benefits of single parenting is that I was able to really bond with my daughter in a way that I don't think I would have or could have when you have to slice your time so thin. So when you're maybe have multiple children, or you're in a relationship, you kind of have to be mom, wife, girlfriend, what have you. And sometimes the kids kind of get the short end of the stick. But I feel like the relationship I have with my daughter is way different than the one that I had with my mom. My mom was, married and had 4 kids. So she was not, she gave us all the attention that she could, but it was difficult to like have that one-on-one individual attention to really get to know. Like she was a great mother. But I see with my daughter, we're able to kind of have this bond that's really unique. And I value that. So the one benefit I think is being able to really like learn your kids and have these experiences with them. I think that some of the things that she's seen me do, just because it's her and I had to drag her along a lot of the times. When I was an entrepreneur, I had to drag her to meetings and all these other things. So it's kind of like she's learning these skills all at the same time, and I feel like it's a blessing that I'm able to instill those things in her. And I'm not sure how it would have turned out any other way. So that's one of the benefits that I think is that comes from being a single parent. I think that another benefit to single parenting, although some might argue it, I've learned to become really resourceful when it comes to single parenting. I've had to really hone in on my finances a little bit more, probably a little more than I may have like as a dual income. I really had to learn how to improve my relationship with money. So, because I'm one person trying to support 2. And I think that's probably a skill that will allow me and be a benefit to me forever. And I've learned how to create something out of nothing. And I think that is a skill that we as single parents kind of have really down pat. Like well, how am I going to do this? And there's nothing here to do it, and you just do it. All of a sudden you have Halloween costume out of whatever's in your house. You have something for the bake sale that you whipped up with whatever's in your kitchen. Like, you really learn how to make something out of nothing, or the most limited resource. And it allowed me to kind of think outside the box a little bit more than I could say I probably would if I was able or had the comfort of knowing that there was somebody else in the house. So those are some of the benefits, I think, to single parenting. It allows you to be creative, and it teaches your kids to be resourceful too. Let's see. Next question. Next question was from Stacy. Again, actually, the next couple of questions are from Stacy, and then I'll get to your question, Queen, in 1 second. Is there a correlation between parents and salary negotiations? Do you think single parents are more likely to take lower salaries, or is there no correlation? So I thought this was a really interesting question, because one of the biggest struggle areas that we have as single parents is finances. And there's so many different reasons or challenges that come along with having to earn for two people. And I always tell people, like, I had to position myself to earn for two people because I was the only one person. So I had to get scrappy and do what I needed to do and make sacrifices where I needed to make them, so that I can position myself to command a salary that would be able to sustain me and my child. And so that meant getting my hustle on. Miss Lady Cat, I see your question, and I'll answer that too for the meantime. So one of my questions is, so my answer to this question is, with pay, it's really tricky, because already here in the United States of America, there's a pay gap regardless. Men earn more than women, and when I say women, the statistic is really geared towards white women. So white women in America earn 80 cents for every $1 a man makes. The gap widens when it comes to women of color, especially Black and Hispanic women. Black women earn 54 cents for every $1 a man makes. Oh, I'm sorry, Hispanic women earn $54 for every $1, and Black women they make 65 cents for every $1 a man makes. So we're already kind of starting off behind, even if we had a husband at home or not, right? So even if I had a husband, he would come home with $1 and I would come home with 64 cents, right? Or 65 cents, because I'm a Black woman in America, and that's just what the stats show. It varies sometimes, but on average, this is what it's looking like. So let's say we're not even talking about parental or marital status, like that is just what it is. Add on some children to that, and having only one income in the household, it takes the stats to something really crazy. In 2012, it says that the average single mother family earned $25,493. That is the median income. So that's in the middle somewhere. For a single father headed family, they earn $36,471, whereas a two-income household earns a little bit over $81,500 for the year. So that's a big discrepancy. So, and if you look at the numbers, you see a single mom headed household is making almost $10,000 less than one that is headed by a single father. So the gender gap plays even within the single parent household, right? So we're already kind of like in this really crazy spectrum, and I give that as background. So you know what you're up against when you're getting these job offers. You're already kind of like behind, whether you're a single mom or a single dad, you're already in a place. And if you're Black or Hispanic, you're already kind of like in a place where you really need to fight for every dollar that you can get. So I would like to say negotiation. Like, there's three things I think you need to know and do when you're talking about salary and bringing salary and income into your household. The first thing is, I think you need to know your bottom line. How much does it cost to run your household? Sorry. How much does it cost? Excuse me, sorry. Do you know how much needs to be coming in your house in order for you to meet every bill that comes in there? Do you know if you don't have that number, then there's no way that you can start negotiating a salary at all? You don't even know if you're lowballing yourself or not. So my advice is know your bottom line. Take all your bills, add them up, and say, this is my bottom line. This is how much this is the minimum amount I need to bring in. And kind of do the math on how much per week or per month you need to be bringing into your household. The second point is ask. So working in HR, I know that people don't usually negotiate salaries a lot of the times. A lot of the times, the salaries that we throw out there are ones that can be negotiated. Some people just take what I say. Some people say, can I get $5,000 more? And you know what? Sometimes I give it. You're only going to get 3 kind of answers back after you ask. You're going to get, sorry, we can't pay you that. We can only pay you this, which is whatever salary. And hopefully that salary already fits within what your bottom line is, because you really want to be going after opportunities that fit into the realm of what you need coming into your household. So they're going to say, no, we can only pay you this. They're going to say, no, we can't pay you what you asked for, but we can pay you somewhere in the middle. So say I asked for $50,000. They offered me 45. I asked for 50. They might say, I'll give you 47.5. So you still are $2,500 a year more than where you started. Or they say, sure, we'll give you 50. So now you're $5,000 more. But for the most part, people don't receive higher wages because they don't ask. And here's a little secret that I'll tell you, being an HR lady. Your salary doesn't go up that much once you're in a company. You have the highest potential of earning what you feel like you're worth or what you need when you're coming in or entering a company and negotiating your salary. Because once you get in, the increases are usually standard. There's usually a cap every year with the review, where there's 3%, 4%, 5%, and you're gonna, depending on what that review is, they're gonna knock it down. If you're a good employee, if they feel like you're good, you might get the max 3%. If you got a little work to do, you're gonna get 2.5%. But those increases, once you're in, are only gonna go up a quarter, 50 cents, $1 to be lucky. And if you get a promotion along the way, that might give you a little bump. But for the most part, once you settle on your salary and go in, you're only gonna see small increments. So just ask. The worst thing they can say is no. When they offer you the salary, can I have a day to think about it? Take the day, think about it, do the math on the numbers. Is this gonna be tight for you? Is it not gonna be tight for you? They'll take a day. Take a day to think about it. If you can do it, do it. If you want more, take more. My suggestion is always to come back and ask for $5,000 on top of the annual salary than what they're offering. Because most of the time they'll give it. So that's just a little tip. My third piece of advice is give yourself a raise. So when I was trying to position myself for where I wanted to go in life, I said, okay, I want to be an HR manager, right? I want to start to, manage, get on the management track. And what I did was I went online, Indeed's, Monster, all those things, and I said, what do I need to be an HR manager? I know I have all these years of experience in HR. I have my degrees. What do I need to be a manager? And I noticed that there were certain certifications that you could obtain that they were looking for when people needed management experience. I kind of tweaked my resume to highlight some of the key points that were within those HR manager job descriptions that were posted. And I went for the certification that I kept seeing coming up over and over and over again. And when I tell you I went for it, I went all in. I took a whole summer and all I did was study. My daughter was so mad because we didn't go anywhere, like nowhere. My exam was in July and I studied from like April until July. And then after July, we could go somewhere for a couple of weeks, but then I had to look for a job. So it was like, I was all in. I told my friends, don't call me. I'm not talking to you. Don't look for me. Don't ask me to go. If you feel sorry for my daughter, you can come pick her up and have her tag you along. I'll give you the money, but I'm not going anywhere. I am taking every single available moment that I have to study for this exam because the exam was really expensive. It was about $400 to take, and I could only afford to take it one time because I couldn't afford to fail because I didn't have another $400. At the time, I was like on unemployment. So, those checks are little. And I was just kind of like, this is my one shot and I can't blow it. So, because I wanted to give myself a raise. So I did it, took the test, and then I started applying to management positions in HR that I wanted to that I felt like I deserved and had worked for and earned. So give yourself a raise. Figure out where you want to go. Figure out what those requirements are that you need to get there, and do that. Even if you have to make some sacrifice in how you live, how you spend your money, if you have to take your lunch to work to save for the exam, do it. If you're going to borrow money, borrow it to invest in yourself, borrow it to take the exam. And when you get that new job, pay back whoever you had to borrow. Like, if you're going to get into debt for yourself, not for the shoes, not for a new coat, get into debt for yourself. So anything that you have to do in order to give yourself a raise, I say do it. There is only like a short window of time and a special group of people that are able to progress their life. And those are the ones that sometimes take like a step back in order to do some of the things that nobody else will do. Nobody else is going to say, I'm not going to the club tonight, but you will, because you have a greater mission. Nobody else is going to say, I can't take my daughter here because I need that money to go to make sure that we have a greater income coming in the next 6 months. Like, those are the things that you really have to discipline yourself to do if you want to like meet these goals that you have because it's only us. So you have to be able to say, I'm going to take a sacrifice for my family, for my kids, for their future, for their legacy, in order to position yourself in a way that 5, 10, 15 years from now, they'll be happy that they didn't get every single ice cream that they asked for, because now they're living better. Now they can afford the whole carton instead of just that one at the ice cream truck, right? Or maybe now you have a Cold Stone franchise because you buckled down and took some sacrifices in the earlier part of their lives. So those are things that you have to kind of just think about. Hey, Francine Cakeability, thanks for joining. Let's see. Okay, next question. Okay, well, let me go back because some of the questions are relevant to some of the questions I answered. So one is, what advice would you have to give special needs parents and the guilt we sometimes experience when it comes to me time? I do know that from my personal experience, as far as being a special needs caregiver, I do not have it. But one of my dearest friends is a special needs single mom, and I watch her every day, and she's so amazing. And what I will say is, you got to erase the guilt, because they need you just as much as a non-special, if not more than a non-special needs child needs you. So you have to erase it in order to be, that's an extra level of energy that you have to have when you're a special needs mom. That is like a realm of sainthood that no one can touch. So you have to be your best self then. It might be a little harder. I know it's like a little challenging to find childcare or something like that. For that, I say, use your sick time. Use your sick time, use your vacation days if you have them. Take a day just for yourself where you have maybe when school is in session. Take a day, if it's to sleep, if it's to do nothing, if it's to take yourself to the movies. Like, that me time, you might have to like take a half a day. I'm not sure like exactly what that is or looks like for you, but you have to take it, because that is a special level of self-awareness and strength that you need to be a special needs single parent at that. If you have the opportunity to have a co-parent that is taking the child regularly or on some sort of schedule, I'd say don't book yourself out. As much as we want to go out with our friends and hang out, if they're going with the other parent, do nothing. Do nothing. If they get some sleep, get some rest, do some meditation. Again, I'd say rise early. Sometimes you might just have to get up early and just meditate and do nothing, but still take the time and don't erase the guilt, because the kids need you to another level of strength that you have to have, and you're only going to be able to replenish yourself if you're taking the time for yourself. And that energy, the energy that you have, probably gets consumed way more with the doctor's appointments, with the specialists, caring for whatever needs that the children have. So I say, as hard as it is, don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty for wanting to be the best version of yourself for your child. And that's how you have to look at it. I think it's more, that is it. It's not so much me time. I think me time is makes it selfish or makes it seem selfish. It's the time that you need to take to be the best parent for your child. And I think once we look at it that way, it becomes more of a necessary thing. I need to be the best mom for this kid. And so for that, I need to take some time for me and rejuvenate myself. And I think maybe if we just change the language there from me time is the most, common term. But if you just say necessary time, I take some necessary time to be the best version of myself, then that kind of eliminates the guilt a little bit. And then you're able to really fully engage and indulge and relax and rejuvenate the way that you should when you're taking some time to be the best parent that you can. So I hope that was an answer to your question, Miss Lady Cat 12. I hope that you will kind of change the narrative in your head and say that it's us time. It's time for me to do what I need to do for us, and that is taking a small break. And I hope that was an answer to your question. Queen Quartz, let's see. Your question is it fair for him to put more time and money into his other children instead of the children that you guys had together because he feels like they need him more? So I feel like that's not for you to judge. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, right? Because as the mother of children, you want to be able to rely on the co-parent. And the reality is it's not always going to even out that way. So what I had to do, sometimes I found myself in similar situations. And it's a level of thinking that will keep you stuck in a place that you don't want to be. So I had to kind of figure out what I needed to do in order to really not have to look over there and say, like, what are you doing with your $2? Because I only have one and I need one of your two. So I had to take that energy and say, I have to earn enough for two people, basically, is what I told myself. I have to earn enough for two people, and I won't be able to rest until I do. And once I started taking the energy that I had or was that I was exerting into figuring out what you were doing with your money over here, who you were paying for, who you weren't, I was able to figure out what I needed to do, and life started to progress forward. It is probably not the answer that most people want to hear, but you only have a limited amount of energy. And I say you use it on yourself because that's the only person that you can control. You can't control anybody else's money. You can't control anybody else's time. You can only know what you feel like is the right thing for someone to do, but you cannot make them do it. So you have to you're in control of oneself. And maybe if you have little kids young enough, you might be in control of them too. But at a certain point, you lose control of them too. Like, they grow up, they do whatever they want to do, and you just pray that you've instilled some good sense and some good values in them. But at the end of the day, you're only in control of your one self. What I did learn, though, and I hope this is helpful for you, is that once I decided that I was going to focus on what I needed to do and not put so much energy, not focus my energy into what my co-parent was doing, it created like a space for him to catch up. It was like, oh, what are you guys doing over there? You haven't really been bugging me about anything, and then it created less of a tension because I didn't feel like I needed to attack every time I saw, because sometimes we attack out of lack. This is just the honest truth. If we don't have enough, we're scrambling around and scratching around to get enough. And sometimes the enough comes from our own selves. And sometimes you're looking for a return from someone that just can't give it to you. And that's just the honest truth. And it may not be what you want to hear. It may not be the best answer, but I hope you can position yourself to start saying, like, what is it that I can do to make my situation better? Because I like to tell people, you're only responsible for being the best mom you could be. You can't be responsible for being the best dad you could be. If you're a mom and you're only responsible for being the best dad you can be, if you're a dad, you're not really responsible for being the best mom you can be. So you have to figure out what you need to do to be the best mom you could be, because that's all you could be. So if that means positioning yourself to look for more work so that you have more money, so you're not scraping And so that $20, $25, $30, a lot of times it's not like big sums of money that you're asking for, but and that's what pisses you off, because you're like, I only asked you for $30 and you can't even, and you came over here with 15. Like, what is that? But you just have to position yourself to not need it as much. And I know there's, you know, systems in place, there's child support and other things that you can have in place. And those things aren't even 100% guaranteed, because if someone's not going to pay, they're just not going to pay. And you still have to figure out how the kid has to eat. You still have to figure out what they're going to wear. If they're kids, like, this is their child. That's the one thing that I always like single parents to remember, that probably the worst time of your life is the childhood of your kid. So how do you really want them to look back and remember that? Do you want them to really look back and remember that there was never enough? That there was always some sort of lack? That mommy was never happy? That daddy was never happy? That everything was sad and lonely? And all of that is based on giving one person all of that power over your life. That's a lot of power to give someone. So maybe it's just thinking about it. How much power do I want to give this person? And you'll know from there kind of what to do from there for you and your own situation. But I think that is the key question. How much power do I want this person to have over my life? Because honestly, you're not there for a reason. Whether it didn't work out doesn't make them, you know, the wicked person. It's just something there is not working for you or your family. So how much power do you want to give them now in this after life that you're building? And if it's not a lot, then you have to figure out what are you going to do with that energy to create a life for yourself. I hope that was a sufficient answer for your question. So, and if you have any questions, need any help on any of the questions, or want to further the conversation on any of the answers that I gave out, just send me a DM, or you can email me at info@singleparentsguide.com or ask Ingrid at singleparentsguide.com. I'll be more than happy to kind of work with you a little closer, and to maybe help come up with a plan to figure out what you need to do from there. Let's see. What are some complaints? The next question is from Stacy again, and her question is, what are some complaints that single parents have that you often see your married friends complaining about as well? That's a funny one, because I always look at them with the side eye, like, what is your complaint? Like, do you have another pair of hands in the house? What is your complaint, really? But some of the common ones that I hear are the kids. In my house, I hear my mom, like, I hear mom a million times a day. Mom. But it's only me, so, you know, what am I going to do? Like, it's only me here. So I'm going to hear that chorus of mom. But one of the things that my married friends like to remind me is that even when you're married, they walk past dad and call mom. So I guess that is, you know, a similar complaint that you would have, and one that you wouldn't really expect your married friends to really be complaining about. I think as single parents, we're like, oh, everything is even over there. Another one is money, actually. It's always interesting when, you know, I have one check coming in, you know, so it's always interesting when you hear your married friends that have both work and they're complaining about money, because that is the second one. It's just kind of like, oh, you broke too, huh? But there's another payday coming in your house, so I don't really know about that. Like, I get paid twice a month, so I'm not sure, you know, how that really evens out or equates out, but it does. But those are the things that I find are really funny from the married friends, that when they start complaining. That, and like some of my married friends, their husbands like travel for business, and I don't know if it's a complaint or more of like a side eye when I'm looking like, did you really just say that? But they're always like, oh, you know, my husband was away for work and I felt like you, a single mom, Ingrid, I don't know how you do it. I'm like, you had one weekend, or maybe 2 work days. That does not equate to 11 years of doing it alone. It just does not, you know. So that one I'm like, I'm always looking like, all right, I just kind of smile because I want to have my friends later, but I'm just like, you will never know if that 2 days broke you down. Imagine 365 times 11, and then we can have a conversation. But those were all the questions for today. I hope that you enjoy the responses. I hope that you were able to get some valuable nuggets. I'll stick around for a little bit more if anybody has any more questions that they want to pop up. But I hope you guys come back again next Sunday at 8. I'm going to be here every week. So if you're ever just sitting around in the car or having a really I don't know what to do moment, hit me with the question in the DM box and I will be sure to answer it on Sunday. At least you know that on Sunday you'll get an answer. Sunday at 8 you will get an answer to all that you want to know. The best one that I could possibly provide. Hey, the poor artist NJ. So I hope that you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please, shoot off some hearts. If you enjoyed, invite your friends to join us next week. I also want to talk about my book a little bit. I'm really terrible with the self-promotion, so bear with me. So if you are a single mom or a dad and you still feel like you're struggling with some of the emotions, I wrote a book just for you. It is called Don't Be Sad, A Single Parent's Guide to Finding Your Happy, which is the Finding Your Happy on the t-shirts here. Because I really do feel like when I was going and transitioning through single parenthood, I felt like there was nobody talking to me. There was no voice that was there that understood. There was nobody that could really, people would have all these kind-hearted things to say, but I was just like, you don't even know the half. Like, you just don't even know. And I would I'm a reader, so I would go to the Barnes and Noble or the library, and I would just search for books that would just as a path for somebody to tell me I need some help because I feel like I'm losing my mind. And I was never really able to find one that really talked or addressed the problems or the issues or the uniqueness that I thought I was going through. And so I decided I'm gonna write it because I felt like if I felt this way, that there has to be someone else out there that felt that way. And it took a while for me to be in a position that I could actually have some really great advice to give people. It took a while for me to get myself together, my emotions together. My anger together. That's one of the chapters because I was mad for a little bit. I was mad for a long time, mad. But it took a long time, and I said to myself, if I could help one person, I will with the book. And it just kind of takes you through the emotions that you feel. The sad is, shock, anger, and defeat. And sometimes we find ourselves transitioning through those things at different stages, even if we've been single parenting for a while. Sometimes I still get mad. 12 years later, I still get mad. I don't let it consume me as much, but there are some times